The stories you are about to hear are stories that I have included at the very end of my most recent videos. All of them are made up off the top of my head. I hit the record button and see what comes out. I had quite a few people recommend that I make a compilation since they really enjoyed the stories. So here it is. Enjoy. All throughout middle school and high school, I've held all sorts of track and field records. From short distance to long distance running to throwing a shot put, throwing a javelin, doing that thing with that big pole where you launch yourself over a stick. I've done that, and I hold a record in it. In fact, many of my records still hold up today. Not long after graduating high school, I started working at a McDonald's. It wasn't the most glorious job, but it was a job. There I met some friends. By this point I had moved out on my own, so my friends would be over almost every day after work, some even staying the night on more nights than not. During this time we did a lot of drinking. We also made a lot of bets, and I always lost all those bets. So one time we made a bet on a football game. I wagered that the football players wouldn't smack each other's butts 20 times throughout the game. My buddy Charles eagerly took that bet, saying that they would probably even get more than 40. He asks me what we're wagering. We'd gotten to the point where money wasn't much of risking. It was better to do things that would embarrass each other. So I came up with the idea that the person who lost would have to get their nipples pierced in a chain bringing them together, as well as their belly button pierced, with a chain linking to that as well, so essentially making an upside down triangle with chains. Charles looked at me weird, asked me if I was into some kinky shit, and agreed. Lo and behold, they smacked each other on the asses 732 times before that game was done. I don't even know how they were able to finish the game with so much butt smacking that was going on. It was like every 2 seconds. Butt smack. Butt smack. They'd change the camera. Butt smack. Then went to the kiss cam. The players ran up there and butt smacked. It was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. Needless to say, I lost the bet. So we went down to our local tattoo and piercing shop. We told them what they needed and they said they could take care of it. Within 45 minutes we were out the door and I was hurting. I had metal through my nipples and my belly, and then I had a chain connecting it all together. It was super weird, and I could feel the coldness of the chain all over my abs and my pecs. It felt like my nipples were twitching, and then I thought I had to go pee. I also needed some snacks, so I asked my buddy to drop me off at the convenience store not far from my house, and let him know I'll just walk home. He drops me off. I go in, get my snacks, pay for them, and ask to use the restroom. In the restroom, I meet this really weird guy. You know how when you walk up to the urinal, sometimes there's that guy sitting in the corner looking at you, and you know he's looking at you, but you don't want to make eye contact while you got your hand on your junk, because that's really weird? Yeah, it was that guy. And I ended up making eye contact while I had my junk in my hand. He got a smile on his face, winked at me. I turned my head, ignored him, and walked out quickly, still peeing. I get in the hallway that connects to the store just as my stream's dying and I drip dry. I hurry out of the store. Once I get out of the store, I see someone there asking for some change. I don't have any change on me at the time, but I do feel bad for them, so I give them one of my snacks. Just as I'm about to leave, the guy from the bathroom walks out, comes up to me and says, "Hey, how you doing?" I told him I'm doing fine, but I'm heading home. I start walking down the road, him following close behind. "Hey, where you going so fast? You got them sugar buns. Let me get some num sugar buns." I look at him and say, "What is that supposed to mean, dude?" He says, "Yeah, yum buns, At this point, I start to get a little freaked out, so I take my shirt off. He starts whistling at me. "Hey, sugar buns, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, baby got back. Yeah, literally back." Once again, I look at him, And that's when it occurs to me that he's gonna know where I live if I don't ditch him. So in order to get a speed advantage over this guy, I take off my shoes and socks, and am bending over to take off my pants so I can run faster with less friction. And then I feel a hand on my back. Hey, sugar buns. Sugar buns. I feel a chill go up my spine, and then I realize it's his cold hand. I stand up straight, about to run as fast as I can, when he grabs my chains. He starts pulling me closer, and I can't even resist because I can feel the pressure on my belly button and nipples. If I tried to pull away right now, my nipples would be mutilated for life. I was not okay with that. That would essentially give me like 4 nipples. Maybe more if they splatter and touch another part of my body and then kind of grow another one. He starts saying to me, "Come on, sugar buns. Let's go home." I start screaming as loud as I can, hoping someone's gonna hear me and come save me from this crazy guy. He starts twisting his hands, causing the chains to get tighter. I scream in pain. I can't believe no one stopped to help me. Cars have been driving by this entire time. I've seen 2 police officers drive by. They both nod their heads and keep going down the road. By this point, we've made it 3 blocks, and I don't know how far we're going, but he starts leading me into an abandoned house. Finally, I see one officer stopping just inside of my view, and I think he's seen me. I start waving to him. He waves back at me, and then I see it. He's walking up to give a ticket to an old lady with a walker for jaywalking. He didn't even stop to see me. This man takes me inside by these chains, brings me in by an old pipe, and chains my chains up to the old pipe, essentially having me chained by my nipples and my belly button to this pipe. The man walks out, and I'm panicking, wondering how I'm going to get out of this. I easily can outrun this guy if I can just get out of here, but because of these chains, I'm stuck. And then it hits me. I think I can undo these piercings. I decide to give it a go. It took a few minutes, but I finally got all the piercings off. I bolted out the door and started running back towards my place. I was just about to get back to where my clothes were when I see a cop driving the opposite direction in the road. In my panic, I decide to run out and flag him down. I run out into the street, jump in front of his vehicle, and start waving. He stops in front of me and turns on his lights. I yell at him that I need help, that someone just kidnapped me. He tells me he's here to help, or he'll shoot me in the head and not think twice. He saw what happened, but he's gonna need me to turn around and put my arms behind my back. Without hesitation, I follow his every order. He puts me in handcuffs and puts me in the back of the police cruiser. I ask him what's going on. Why isn't he after the guy who tried to kidnap me? With a cocky smile, he says, "I watched you jaywalk twice, and then you stood in the road blocking my vehicle. I ordered a pizza 40 minutes ago and it just got ready, and now you're making that pizza cold. So you know what? You're going downtown, buddy. You're going to the big house. And you better be careful. You might catch Sukma. That's been going around the jailhouse rampant." I ask him what the hell Sukma is. His response is something that still haunts my dreams. "Sukma balls." There aren't many things in life that scare me, but this was easily one of the worst. I guess since none of you know me, I should describe myself. I'm a 5'1", 41-year-old man. I've lived most of my life with the constant bullying. It's something I've grown accustomed to, being this short. As the few people who are this short will know, it really sucks. That alone could be its own scary story. But the thing that happened as a result is even more terrifying. I decided to go to the bar with my friends one night. I had recently been fired from my job. My wife left me. She took my kids and my dog. She burnt my house down. She took my car and took one of the tires, not all of them, but I didn't have a spare. I also had no insurance on the vehicle, so I couldn't drive it anyways. She shoved a potato in the tailpipe, so I tried to start it once, but that didn't happen until I inspected the vehicle and found it. So needless to say, I really needed this bar time. We get to the bar and everything's fine. I see a couple women that catch my eye. I talk to my friends about if I should approach them. They recommend that I don't, because I'm short. They said they would go over and make the approach for me. They said that's what they're there for, they're my wingmen. Inside, I was hoping he was telling the truth, because the 4 other times they'd done this previously, they'd taken my girls. I still had trust in my friends, though. They had my best interests at heart. They told me that those girls wouldn't have liked me, because I'm short. I'd say about 5 minutes went by since my buddies went over and decided to go talk to these women that I was interested in. Not once did they look over at me, but I figured they were just laying the foundation. I ordered them all a round of drinks and had the waiter bring it over. Once the drinks arrived, they actually all turned to me, held up their glasses in a cheers motion. I motioned it back and we all nodded heads. Then they once again turned away. I figured at that point they would wave me over, but as typical, they just ignored me. I turned back to the bar, lowered my head, told the barkeep I needed another double. About this time, a man came up next to me, said that round's on him. He said he'd been watching from across the way, and he noticed what my friends were doing to me. This piqued my interest, so I looked up and caught eyes with the man. He looked to be a strapping man, 6'2". He was a man. He was tall. He was a man. I looked at him. I let him know that I appreciated the kind words and the kind gesture. He asked me if I was looking to make a little bit of money, which almost seemed to come out of nowhere, but in the same sense it seemed like a sign. I had just been fired from work and I of course needed money, especially to pay for the rounds of drinks I just bought for all those douche nozzles. So I looked at him and replied as long as it wasn't illegal and I wasn't taking it in the butt, I'm down. He told me that him and a couple buddies were having a contest, and they needed another participant to make the teams even. I agreed, and asked him why he would pay me for it. He said that I would find out when we got there. So I told my buddies I'm gonna go party with these guys, and they pretended like they didn't know me. So I just left with my new friends. We ended up going not far from the bar to another little shindiggy place. We get inside, and I see a group of 5 other people. We walk up to them and they start cheering, "Oh yeah, you got him." I was excited. For once in my life, I felt like someone needed me, and they didn't mind that I was short. They looked like they were all dressed in sports attire. I felt like I needed to point out the obvious that I'm not the best at sports because I'm short. They were extremely encouraging. They told me that me being short actually gave me an advantage in this game. I don't know what we were about to play, but it was going to be amazing. They told me to go stand by a line while they had a huddle. Not long after, 3 men came walking up to me while the other 3 stayed behind. The biggest guy comes up and asks me if I'm ready. I eagerly say yes, but I don't know what we're playing. He informs me that I'll learn along the way. He then proceeds to grab the back of my shirt and the back of my trunks and lift me up off the ground against my will. He starts swinging me in his arms back and forth, gaining momentum, and I felt the G-forces on my face. At the peak of his front swing, he lets go and I start flying through the air. I feel like gravity has no effect on me. I'm flying into space. I'm gonna get some moon rocks. And all at once, gravity takes effect, and it feels like I'm falling from the stars. I see my life flash before my eyes before I hit the ground, and then blackness. I wake up with them around me, asking if I'm okay. It appears I've been knocked out from the fall. I didn't want to seem like a weakling, so of course I told them I was okay. It's not very often that I got chosen to play sports, because I'm short. They all cheer and lift me up, bring me back to the start, and the next guy grabs me by the back of my shirt and my shorts. He does the same swinging motion, and once again I'm thrust into the air. This time I know this is it. I can't live through this fall. I am literally getting 3 feet in the air. Do you know how high that is for a short person? Imagine the Empire State Building for a normal-sized person. Imagine falling off that. It's not like that, but just imagine it. Did you imagine it? I landed, and once again I'm knocked out. I come to, and they're all around me asking if I'm okay. Stupidly, I tell them I am. They once again bring me back to the start and throw me in the air. This time though, when I landed, I didn't wake up until I was in the hospital. I woke up in the hospital to the doctors informing me that there was nothing they could do to save my arms or legs. That's when the reality of everything really sunk in. I was now only 3.5 feet tall. Craigslist is a place where you can find many different things. In most cases, an average meetup from Craigslist goes without a hitch. But then you find the stories like mine. It was a Tuesday. I remember the day because I had been looking for this item for about 3 months before it finally showed up. The item in question was the most beautiful platinum pair of toenail clippers you have ever seen. I mean, they were immaculate. Well, minus the few chips they had on the blades where someone had actually used them. But being how rare they were and the fair price they were asking of only $300, I would have been a fool to at least not take a look. They had left a phone number to contact, so I sent a text message. Almost immediately I get a response. They instruct me that they're home for the next hour and I am welcome to swing by. Now, I did keep in mind the normal Craigslist rules, how you don't meet people at their houses and whatnot. But being as it was a high-class item, I figured I could let my guard down a little. I arrived to the address and a woman opens up the door.
Oh, hi. You must be Greg. Come inside, I got the toenail clippers ready. Don't mind my cat. He's not mean at all. He's a lover cat. He'll lick your toes while you test out the toenail clippers. Isn't that right, cat? Yes, kitty cat, you like it? You want the toe jam, kitty? Yes? Are you excited for the toe jam? Oh, yes. Greg, please come inside. We anxiously await your toenail clippings. We hope you find pleasure in the platinum. $300 is quite the steal, wouldn't you say?
Now, to say that I was a little uncomfortable would be an understatement, and I saw her cat eagerly eyeing my feet. She instructed me to sit down on her love seat while she went and retrieved the toenail clippers in question. The entire time, the cat would not stop staring at my feet. I tried to call out to him to pet him, but he was frozen. After a short moment, she returns with the toenail clippers and hands them to me.
Oh, please do test them out. I'm very excited to see how you feel about them.
Awkwardly, I took off my shoes and socks, and the second I did, the cat ran right up to my feet and sat there waiting. I could see the glee on her face as I brought the platinum toenail clippers closer to my feet.
Oh yes, it's going to be so amazing. You're going to love the platinum feel. Once you start, you just cannot stop. Kind of like a kind of Pringles. Yes, Pringles.
I can't explain how, but that statement really hit me hard and let me know that I needed to get out of there. I told her the best I could offer her is $150 for these. She told me that I hadn't even tested them, so how could I know what they were worth? I argued back that it was such a mundane item, people wouldn't argue to buy this, and I turned to walk out the door. The cat jumped around in front of me, pooped on the floor, and then ran off up the stairs. The lady started cursing at me, saying it was my fault that her cat defecated on the floor. I stepped over it and opened the door to walk out. She followed quickly behind me and retrieved the cat poop with her bare hands and flung it at me. I ended up hopping in my vehicle and peeling out of there faster than I'd ever driven before. I drove straight to the police station and explained the situation. They laughed at me and told me there wasn't anything they could do, but had the poop landed on me, then they could have tried to charge her for assault. I thanked them and walked out of the office. What they had said had given me an idea. I drove my car to the nearest dog park, found a pile of poop and decided to rub the poop on my face. My plan was that I would go back to the police station and say she had followed me and threw poop at me again, this time striking me in the face. I made it back to the police station and they brought me back into the interrogation room. I was then told to give my written statement and they left me alone. While I was there, I described everything, from the beginning time I met her up to my made-up story where she followed me and threw feces at my face. The officers then told me they would go to make contact with the lady at her house, and they told me they would stay in contact. I went home and not even 2 hours later I got a call from the police station. "Hey, we went on out to that place. I found the cat you were talking about. This cat is amazing. Have you let it lick your toes before? I highly recommend that you should have. I can't believe you would walk away from that opportunity. The fact that you would walk away from that opportunity tells me that you made this entire situation up. So for that, we are pressing charges against you. How about you meet me back at the station?" I told him that I wasn't able to at the time, but I would be able to in an hour, to which he responded that I better show up. I had no intentions of it. I packed all my stuff and decided to go live on a sailboat. I went and stole one from the marina. So here I sit, sitting in international waters trying to avoid this charge of lying about having cat feces thrown in my face. I think back to how if I would have just followed the normal Craigslist meeting protocol, I would have never been in this situation. Camping is an avid hobby of mine. Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, I'm a normal, behind-the-desk working guy. But on the weekends, I can head out to the middle of nowhere and let it all hang loose. Quite literally. I pride myself in my complete naturism, if that's even a word. When I head out for the weekends, I don't take anything with me. In fact, when I arrive at the trail, I remove all of my clothes and lock them in my vehicle. I take my keys and I hide them on the inside of my rims. It isn't until about a half a mile down the trail that I actually feel free. I set up a new camp every weekend. Well, I guess if you can call it a camp. My preferred sleeping method is a little different. I like to make myself some cordage and just hang from the trees. Most people only do it with their food, that way the wild animals can't get it. But I had the brains to think that if we put our food up there so animals can't reach it, why don't we go up there so animals can't reach us? So that's what I do. I make myself a harness and the cordage to use. I'm not one for starting campfires. The way I see it, there's monks that go out in the snow and they're perfectly fine in their own mind. So if you don't have the mental strength to do that, you shouldn't even be out in the woods. I don't worry about food for the weekend. Food is a crutch for the weak. Some people do heroin, some eat food. Both are crutches. Both just as bad for you. Sure, the argument can be made that you need to eat to live. But is it really worth killing something? Even if you're a vegan, you're still killing a plant. Isn't it strange that to sustain ourselves, we need to actually kill something and absorb its energy? It's pretty violent if you think about it. Even for a plant, they can't run. The impending fear of knowing your time is short. But I digress. As for liquids, I guess you could just say that I bring my own hose. So night fell and I harnessed myself into the tree. There was a light breeze, so I was swinging back and forth in the canopy. I could hear the rustling of the trees, the hoots of the owls, and then I heard the most frightening thing I'd ever heard. Ow! Ow! What was that? I think it was a mountain lion. I start to get a little freaked out, but then quickly realize that I'm hanging in the canopy, so a mountain lion isn't going to get me up here. I can't see much on the ground due to the fact that I have no fire going, but with the little bit of moonlight that did make it to the ground, I could see that there was a shadow. As soon as it turned its head up, I could see its eyes glowing. It was the chupacabra. At least that's what I think a lot of people call it. It looked like a donkey and a duck-billed platypus with a cat-dog mixed. Like old school cat dog from Nickelodeon. Like, alone in the world, a little cat dog, that cat dog. Remember that? That's what it looked like. Back and forth, it had 2 heads. Its butt was a head, too. And I just remembered that thinking about it. Its butt was a head, it was cat dog. So its second head looks up. Now I see more eyes shining. This is where I really get freaked out. This chupacabra cat dog is looking at me like it wants to eat me. Quickly, something I watched in a nature video clicks into my head. It says that animals like this won't come around your territory once it's marked. I knew the best way in nature to mark your territory was to take a leak. So I peed all over. Just as I started, the wind picked up, which had me spinning around like a sprinkler. My urine was flying in a huge circle and it even started splashing in my face. But that wasn't a bad thing because I was a little dehydrated anyways and I needed some liquid. But once it hit the cat dog, chupacabra, in one swoop it jumped up and bit the cable that was holding me, knocking me out of the air and slamming me into the ground. Ow! I could feel its breath. Ow! The only thing I could think to do was act like I was dead. So that's what I did. I closed my eyes and held my breath, anxiously awaiting the outcome of my situation. It sniffs me for a second, before nibbling on my hand just a little, not enough to break the skin, but it actually felt kinda cool, and then it took off into the night once again. There wasn't much I could do now that I was sitting in the dark. My cordage had been cut, my harness was all jacked up, my hand felt a little tingly, so I just curled up and waited. The next morning I decided to cut my weekend short, which is very rare. I decided that I would just stay the rest of the time in my vehicle, still nude, and then come Sunday evening I would drive home. But for the next night I was staying in my car. The rest of the trip was uneventful. There were a couple hikers that pulled up and saw me nude in my car, took some pictures, laughed, and walked off. Just a typical weekend. But I will never forget that chupacabra cat dog that I saw in the woods. This all started 2 years ago when I worked at McDonald's. I got off work one night at about 2 a.m. after closing up the store. At that time of night, no one else is up, so I decided to go ride my skateboard around the city. I'd say I made it about 2 miles down the road and I saw someone across the street wearing a hoodie. He looks at me as I ride by on my board. I look at him and we do the little head nod thing and I keep going. I make it to the Walmart that's a few miles from my house, which is open 24 hours, so I decided to go there to hang out and check out all the crackheads and stuff like that, because it's oddly entertaining. I ended up buying an energy drink and some chips or something like that, and I decided to head back home. While riding my board, I end up actually on the same side of the road as this dude. He hears me coming up behind him on my board and he turns around, stops walking and just puts up his hand. I slow myself and stop a safe distance from him just in case things are about to go bad. He starts to take a couple steps towards me. I'm not really feeling the most comfortable because I don't know this guy and it's pretty late at night, and the area I'm in's pretty crazy with drugs. You got meth, you got heroin, you got Molly, you got ecstasy, you got DMT, you got shrooms, you got crack cocaine. Even though I don't know if there's another type of crack, but everyone always says crack cocaine. I've never heard of like a crack heroin. Have you heard of crack heroin? No, but it's crack cocaine. Crackheads everywhere. And that's what this guy was probably. He was a crackhead. He starts talking, and just mumbles come out of his mouth. It's like, I walk away. He says, yo man, you got any raisins? I look at him, I'm like, raisins? Yeah man, you got some raisins over there? In my mind, I'm like, raisins? Why would a dude ask for raisins? And then it clicks in, it's probably some drug lingo. I'm like, nah man, I don't mess with that stuff. I ain't got no raisins. It's like, alright man, alright. Sound like Boomhauer, you know what I'm saying? So I end up riding my board away, you know. I get home, open my energy drink and start drinking it. And then I realize that it's a little bit flat. I hadn't noticed the dent on the side of the can. I decided to play some video games to get my mind off of it. I'd say I was about 2 hours in when I hear a knock on my door. I look out the peephole and I see the dude that I had talked with on the street. Through the door I yell, "Yeah, what do you want?" In a muffled tone I hear him say, "Hey, yo man, you got some raisins?" I couldn't help but start busting up laughing, you know what I'm saying? Just raisins. So he's at my house, asking for raisins. At like 3 in the morning by this point. I go over to my side window that's got a better view of the front porch. And I say, "Yo." He jumps and turns and looks like he's surprised. "Yo, you got some raisins?" I'm like, "No, dude, I ain't got no raisins. Get out of here." He gives me this really weird look. Almost as if you're deciding if someone's telling the truth or not. Then he says, "Alright, man. Let me know if you get some raisins." Then he walks off into the night. I hop back on my video games for about a half hour, and then I decide I want a beer. So I decide to go to the 7-Eleven down the street. I grab my skateboard, go out my door, and I make it about a block down the road before I see the same guy. I think you already know what he said when he saw me. "Hey, yo man, you got the raisins?" I told him no, I don't have raisins. I rode down the middle of the road as to avoid him. I get to the store, buy my beer, and oddly enough, I see some chocolate-covered raisins. I buy a pack, along with my alcoholic beverages, and head back down the road. I see the dude again, and once again, "Yo, you got some raisins?" I tell him yes, I do have raisins. I'm going as fast as I can with a bag of beer in one hand and I got the raisins in the other hand, and I swing it and pelt him in the face as hard as I can with the damn raisins, not even stopping as I pass by. Didn't say a word, just went straight home, walked in, cracked a beer open, played some video games. And everything I just said is a complete lie that I was making up off the top of my head at the end of a video just to entertain you guys for some weird reason. So how does that make you feel knowing that I just wasted more precious time of your life? I'm sure some people will be upset, but most of you will think it's kind of humorous because any form of entertainment is entertainment. Once again, I really appreciate everyone sticking to the end of the video, even though this story was absolutely false and had nothing to do with anything. But it does make me wonder. Do you have any raisins? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit a like, subscribe, share it with your friends, hit the notification button. And if you really enjoyed these stories, make sure you stay to the end of all of my videos because it's going to be something I'm going to start doing. I kind of enjoy it and it seems like others enjoy it, so why not? And if you would like to help support the channel, I highly recommend you check out the join button down below. That will grant you membership to the channel, which gives you a cool channel badge, custom emotes during our live streams, exclusive live streams, early access to all my new content, and all that good stuff. So make sure you check it out. I hope everybody has a great day, and I really appreciate you checking out these videos, and I hope it brought a smile to your face. And if you just think I'm stupid, that's totally fine too, because that's pretty normal. Yeah. I will catch you all in the next video. And since these aren't true, I'm not going to say my normal outro. I'm just going to say, bad bye.